So hey guys, if you haven't been able to tell by my shirt already, which I'm sure you already have, I'm going to be reviewing Deadpool 2 for you today. This is the latest Deadpool installment for 20th Century Fox and the overall second installment for Deadpool and for the overall X-Men universe and film. So in this movie, you guys, Deadpool 2, Deadpool is continuing doing exactly what he was doing in the first film. He's a mercenary. He's the merc with a mouth. He's going on all these side missions. He's going out of the country. He's doing all these things that people without mutant powers probably wouldn't be able to take on just because it's just so hard to get hurt or killed in situations that Deadpool likes to get involved in. But Deadpool's life takes a major turn when something tragic to him happens that I can't ruin for you because, like I said, most of my reviews are non-spoiler. So this is also going to be a non-spoiler review. This is just so if you haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just explaining the synopsis of the movie without spoiling anything. So tragedy happens to him, and he realizes that he's brought back to Earth. He's just a human being that happens to have mutant powers. So Deadpool being by himself in this kind of world, at least in the world that Deadpool 2 presents, isn't exactly a very safe world anymore. So Deadpool decides to form his own team, which is the X-Force that he calls it. There's men and women on it, so it's not exactly the X-Men. He wants to kind of make it his own thing, since he really is kind of against the X-Men based off the events of this film and the film before it. So he forms the X-Force, and while this is going on, he has to protect a young boy who lives in this very harsh orphanage. They don't treat the kids very well in it, and he possesses fire powers with his hands. And a character named Cable, who's played by Josh Brolin, is a time-traveling mutant, and he wants to kill this boy. Cable claims that in the future that he lives in, since he time-traveled from the future, that this young boy, if he's not killed, it's going to lead to one tragedy after another. And since Deadpool went through a tragedy himself, he kind of understands Cable, but at the same time, he doesn't understand why Cable exactly has to kill him up front. So, with the help of the X-Force, with the help of whoever he can find, with the X-Men such as Colossus or Megasonic Teenage Warhead from the first film, he gets help from whenever he can to make sure that this young boy's safe, that he can still be the hero that he wants to be, and still be the anti-hero that we know him for, while also making sure that Cable's put in his place and giving this boy a chance if Deadpool can kind of turn everything around for both this boy and for Cable. So overall, guys, I enjoyed Deadpool 2. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I loved it. I would even say I don't think it's as good as the first film. I think the first Deadpool film is a way better film in general. It's a better superhero film. It works better as a Deadpool movie, and I thought the first film balanced action comedy a little bit better than this film did. But that's not to say that Deadpool 2 is a bad film. I think there's tons of great things going for it. There's just some things going against it too that I think hurt it and prevent it from being the great film that the first film was. So for my positives and negatives of Deadpool 2, first off and foremost, this film is very funny. So if you love the humor of the first Deadpool film, do not fear. Deadpool 2 continues that humor. It's a very funny film. I found myself laughing at several moments in this movie, and it wasn't just little chuckles. It was pretty laugh-out-loud moments. So if you're looking for a funny Deadpool film, Deadpool 2, thankfully, is that movie just like the first film was. I would even say, for my next positive point, the scenes involving the X-Force are pretty funny as well. Whenever they're trying to be funny with these X-Force characters that Deadpool recruits along with his friend Weasel, who's played by T.J. Miller both in this film and in the previous film, I would say all those X-Force scenes are pretty funny. If it involves Domino, if it involves the Vanisher, if it involves, I think this guy's name was Steve, just this random guy off the street that joins the X-Force, anything that almost involves any of those characters really is pretty funny. So I feel the scenes where Deadpool is kind of training the X-Force, trying to make it his own thing, I think these scenes work on a very comedic level very well. There's also great action scenes in Deadpool 2. One of the John Wick directors from both John Wick films, I believe, worked on this film. Tim Miller unfortunately left this project due to creative differences with both Ryan Reynolds and 20th Century Fox, but they did get David Leitch from John Wick and John Wick Chapter 2. He's also worked on some action choreographies on some other films, I think, as well. But he directed this film, and it very much shows because the action scenes are very good in this film. You see everything that's going on. He avoids using shaky cam. He did a very great job choreographing the action scenes, so huge thumbs up to David Leitch, if I pronounce his name correctly. He did a great job with the action scenes in this movie. The fourth wall breaking is still a ton of fun in this film, so if you like that aspect of the first Deadpool film, Deadpool 2 continues this. I would even say in Deadpool 2, um, Deadpool, he'll even like say it's a foreshadowing, or he'll really incorporate what he's talking about, or really works with the script portion of the scene. Like there's a scene where he doesn't like the way a character's talking. Like he thinks the script did an awful job with this character's dialogue at this bar. So he tells both the character and kind of the audience at the same time that this character isn't allowed to speak throughout the rest of the film. And strangely enough, this character is not shown and never speaks again throughout the course of this film. So Deadpool kind of gets his wish with the movie. So there's tons of things like that. There's an end credit scene that I can't spoil that kind of is in the same vein of that too. So tons of fourth wall breaking. It's a ton of fun in this movie. The character of Domino, played by Zazie Beetz in this film, she has, I'm pretty sure she has a pretty big role in the show Atlanta. I haven't personally have seen it, but I know that's something she's known for being a part of before Deadpool 2 was filmed. She plays the character of Domino in this film. Like I said, her name is Zazie Beetz. Very fun character, very funny character. Definitely can keep up with Deadpool. She's kind of Deadpool's female equivalent in a way. Good luck is kind of her superpower, which is Deadpool really doesn't think is a superpower until he kind of sees her in action. Just sees how lucky she is with kind of every situation she gets involved in. So just a fun character. I love that Zazie Beetz played this character. Kerry Washington, I think at one point was considered to play her. I think she could have done a great job too if she did go through with the role. But regardless, Zazie Beetz did a great job with this role, both on a comedic level, an action level, and just being a fun character in general. So huge thumbs up to her. Love the character of Domino in this movie. Deadpool 2 is also a very fun film. I just had a ton of fun watching it. Like I said, the fourth wall breaking is fun. The scenes that are meant to be comedic are really funny, and the action scenes are very involving and very well filmed. It's just a fun film. It's just a fun film that you can just kind of pop in and just enjoy yourself watching. And if you love other previous X-Men films and enjoy comedy films such as hard R films like this one is, I think you'll have a ton of fun with Deadpool 2. And then my last huge positive for Deadpool 2 is I like the many returning characters in this. Morena Baccarin, who played Vanessa in the first film, returns in this film. There's something about her I'm going to bring up in my negatives, but I was great seeing her again, and it was great seeing the filmmakers kind of continue the relationship that she had with Deadpool in the first film, because I really like the relationship that the two of them had. Weasel, played by T.J. Miller, comes back. The grandmother that Deadpool lives with comes back in this one. Just pretty much any character you can think of from the first Deadpool, like the taxi driver, for example, he comes back in this one. Tons of fun returning characters that I loved seeing for a second time around in the Deadpool movie. But for my negatives of Deadpool 2, I think the overall storyline in Deadpool 2, I just didn't feel very invested in. You can even tell by my synopsis, just a very hard film to kind of explain in a way, just because it goes so many directions at so many different times. I just really didn't feel very invested. I really didn't feel invested as a viewer for this whole protect the teenager from Cable storyline. I just really didn't feel very involved in it. It just kind of happened. It was the situation that Deadpool was in, and it just kind of went from there. So I thought they could have done a better job choosing a more convincing storyline, both for the Cable of character to be in, and just a better storyline for the overall Deadpool character that could have grown his character or could have done even more interesting things with him with. Also, a lot of the kills in this film feel really artificial. Like, I feel like when a character gets killed in this film, it almost feels like a piece of jello flying around. It doesn't really feel like a body got killed. It just feels like that character's gone from the script and it becomes this CGI jello thing that just kind of falls or floats around everywhere. To me personally, I really felt like the kills just felt a little too CGI-ish to me. Really would have preferred something that felt more natural, kind of like the way the kills were done in the first Deadpool film. In this film, it just feels a little too fake. Another negative I had with the movie too is I thought there was too many on and off villains. At one moment, the teenager's the bad guy. Another moment, Cable's the bad guy. Another moment, the people in the prison that Deadpool doesn't get along with are the bad guys. There's bad guy there, a bad guy there, a bad guy there. It's just like the film can't decide who the major villain of the film wants to be. And I feel like if they could have just sat down and decided what kind of film they wanted to go with from the get go, it could have been a lot easier to digest as a viewer. Because for me personally, there was just too many characters that was a villain here and a villain there and a villain there and a villain here, and I really would have preferred a storyline that could have just decided on its villain. I also thought more time could have been spent with the character Vanessa, so I got to be careful with this one. Can't talk about it for too much, but all I'm going to say is I felt that they could have had more time done with the character Vanessa. They could have grown the character more, could have done more with her like they did in the first Deadpool film. Would have liked more time spent with the Vanessa character, and I think that's really all I'm going to say about that. I also thought that this film was too comedy heavy. Sure, there's action scenes and comedy too, but I feel like there's almost too much comedy and not enough action at times. So that's another negative with this film. I thought this film could have done a better job with. I also thought the use of Cable could have been better. I thought Josh Brolin did the best he could with the material given to him, but I don't know. Something about the script just really didn't feel all that great. I thought they could have done a better job deciding if he was the villain or the hero. I really couldn't get too involved with it. So overall, I'm going to give Deadpool 2 an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very enjoyable film. I recommend it. It's just not quite as good as the first Deadpool film. I feel there's just enough flaws with it to make it feel like it's not quite as great as the first Deadpool film. So 8.5 out of 10 for me.